Alright folks, welcome back. We're doing tier lists now. Is that it? How about this? Lecture first, and then you can have your tier list after. Today we're talking about the skip tag system. The basic premise is you skip a round, you skip whatever potential rewards that you would normally get from playing the round. In exchange, you get one of these skip tags. For example, you get a booster pack instead of your normal rewards for that round. And I think for most folks and for most of these tags, I think these tags are worth more than you might think they are. And I think also for those same people, I think they're also skipping more than they should be. All right, hear me out. So the basic calculus that most people do, they think about, okay, well, how much money do I make per round? How much money am I making from interest? How much money am I making from, just the standard reward money? Small blinds give you $3, big blinds give you $4, that sort of thing. How much, if I win in just one round and I have 3 hands left over, I get $3 extra. So, all that together, how much money do I make in a round, or how much value do I generate in a round if I have some jokers that also generate value each round? Versus, okay, well, how much is the thing worth? For example, how much is a mega buffoon pack worth? How much is this coupon tag worth? What potential discount could I get from it? How much is that worth to me? Or, literally, how much money do I get from the economy tag? It says it's going to double my money, so if I have $30, it's going to give me $30. All right, I think the thing that people get wrong, or at least a thing that people get wrong, is they think about, sort of from a limited scope, how much am I doing now? And forget about, what we're doing in the future. And so here's how I think about it. Let's say it looks like this. Let's say, these are the next couple rounds here. And what I'm doing is I'm skipping this round here. I'm going to skip this round. And then this is a round which I get reward money, and then I also get a shop. I get more reward money, and then another shop. I get more reward money, and then another shop. And okay, we're thinking about, here I don't have that many jokers. I don't have that much money saved up for interest. I'm not actually earning that much, and so I'm not losing that much if I skip this round. Well, the way that this works, when you skip, let's say you take the economy tag, and the economy tag gives you $40 or whatever. You don't get to use that money until the future, right? If you skip now, your jokers stay the same, your deck stays the same, your ability to produce money and value stays the same. And so really, I'm not skipping this to get this. I don't get that next round yet because I haven't gotten the additional jokers that make this more powerful. I haven't gotten the additional deck construction that makes this more powerful. What happens is I'm actually doing this. I'm actually, looks like this. So here's the one that I skip, and then the round that would be right now is pushed 1 into the future. The round that would be in the future is pushed 1 more into the future. And then now, there's a limited number of rounds before you reach the final boss. Now, I don't get that last round. So this last round where I would have, a lot of gold cards and a lot of purple cards in my deck, where I have a lot of value in this one round, I don't even get to see that round because the game is going to end one round earlier. And, in the future, there's theoretically some future shop where I have a lot of money and I have a lot of value, and then I'm able to re-roll a bunch in that shop. I don't get to see that shop because I've skipped not just the current round, but the future, whatever my best future round is. And so when you're taking these skips, what you got to think about is the skip worth not just what I'm skipping now, but is it worth my theoretical best round in the future? And if you're playing on the low stakes, the ceiling is pretty high, right? So we've demonstrated you can get to, let's say, ante 5 while still having 3 or 4 value jokers. With even just 1, 2, maybe only 3 scoring jokers, you can get to ante 5. And so you can get a lot of value per round. And that's not counting, whatever kind of gold cards or, like I said, purple seals that you have in your deck that also give you value in different ways. And so you are missing out on a lot in the future. If you're playing on the higher stakes, you know, on the higher stakes, you have access, you know, generally you have access to less money. You know, all of the small blinds, you don't get the $3 less from the small blinds. And so, okay, I get less money per round. I have to spend more money to survive, and so I have less money for interest each round. I, you know, have to use all of my joker slots for scoring because of the higher scoring requirements, so I don't have any value generating joker slots. And so if I'm skipping, then I'm not actually missing that much value each round. However, when you skip, all of the scoring requirements go up, right? And so here's how I think about it. Let's go, sorry, let me get this out of here. Let's talk about the investment tag. So the investment tag, that's the one where you skip and then you get some money, but you don't get it until after you beat the boss. It's $15, by the way. And so let's say it wasn't $15. Let's say it was $50 instead. And we're talking about, let's say we're in ante 1, round 1, and there's 2 of these investment tags. Skip, you get $50, but it's not until after you beat the boss. Question is, how many skips do you take? Do you take both skips, $100 if you can beat the boss? Or do you take one skip, or do you take none skips? And why? So if we take both skips, then we have to face the boss. We have to face the boss with no scoring jokers, with no shops, no benefit at all. And so for a lot of folks, okay, that's quite daunting. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can score 600 points with whatever kind of debuff that it gives me. You know, for me, if I'm playing on the low stakes, you know, I can probably hit 2 300-point hands, or maybe that's hard if I have, you know, a debuff boss or something like that. Maybe I play 2 hands that are 280 points and then 1 2-pair or something like that, and that would beat the boss. That's not necessarily guaranteed that I get 2 5-card hands, but it's pretty consistent. I could do that. I could pull that off. If you're playing on the higher stakes, if you're playing on the gold stake with the -1 hand size and the -1 discard, there's no way. There's no way that you're going to get 2 300-point hands on the boss with no help, no scoring help. And so that ends you, right? And so early on, even though you don't get as much money per round, the increases in the scoring requirements are huge, right? And so you know the difference between the end of ante 3 and the beginning, or sorry, end of ante 2 and the beginning of ante 3. Ante 2 ends at 1600 points. Ante 3 starts at 2800 points, right? That's a huge leap. And so in the one round, you know, the score goes up that much. If I take a skip, is the skip, whatever the reward is it worth a 50% increase in score? Can the skip, you know, can this spectral pack that I take, is it going to increase my score by 50%? The answer is probably not. I mean, there is a chance, but the answer is probably not. Probably not going to help you that much. And so in my gold stake videos, I've demonstrated, you know, there were times where we had the economy tag and, oh, I could pick up $40 here. Do I take the $40 here? Well, if I skip, you know, I'm already struggling to survive. I'm already struggling to score. If I skip, now I'm never going to be able to spend that money. I'm just going to lose. I'm going to lose, and I'm not going to be able to spend that money. And so if we go back to this example of, okay, we've got the investment tag and it's $50 investment tag. Let's say you take one skip instead of 2 skips. And so, okay, now I got to do the big blind. Big blind, I can do 2 hands to get 450 points. That's not an issue. I could do that. If we're playing, you know, if we're talking about gold stake again, we've got the -1 hand size, -1 discard. Sometimes you don't get that second hand. Sometimes you don't even get that first hand. Sometimes, you know, I would say maybe 40% of the time, 40% of the time, you can't beat the big blind. So, you know, you're playing on the high stakes. There's a, you know, coupon tag, and you skip for the coupon tag, and then the big blind just kills you, and you never get to see the shop. And so, you know, you really, if you're going to take that gamble, if you're going to take that chance, the payoff better be huge. You know, if we're talking about win rate, if we're talking about win percentage, you just want to be as successful as much of the time as possible. Skipping too much or skipping at all often is going to end you if you're not able to keep up with the scoring requirements. Now, the last thing that people get wrong about the skip tags is every shop has value. The question is how much value. So for example, if you want to re-roll the shop, if you want to see more cards, you don't like what you see, you want to see more, it costs you $5. Well, it starts at $5 and then it goes to $6, $7, it keeps increasing or whatever. So the question is, how much are those first 2 cards worth? Every time you go into a shop, you get to see 2 cards for free. How much is that worth? Is that worth $2 worth of value to see those 2 cards? Is it worth $5 worth of value to see those 2 cards? If I'm skipping whatever value that is. And so if we're talking about in ante 1 now, normally you get 2 shops between you and the boss. That gives you 4 cards, 4 chances to pick up the scoring help that you need in order to beat the boss. Or if you take a skip, just 1 skip, that's half as many shops. Now you have half as many cards, you have only 2 cards, 2 chances for you to get a scoring joker to help you beat the boss. Sometimes you don't get any jokers. Sometimes you get a joker that doesn't help your score. And so, people complain all the time. People say, oh, well, I lost in ante 1 or 2 because I didn't get enough scoring help, right? Well, maybe you didn't see enough shops is what the issue is. Also, we know that you can re-roll, you can pay to re-roll jokers, or sorry, re-roll, whatever the normal shop offerings are, sometimes other consumables. What about booster packs? So the most efficient way to improve your score in the game is with jokers, obviously. And so the difference between, 2 and 3 jokers is huge. The difference between 4 and 5 jokers is still pretty big. And so, there are other ways to improve your score, but they're way less efficient. So, for example, celestial packs giving you planet cards. Okay, not very efficient way to improve your score, but it's still efficient enough. It is more efficient to buy a celestial pack than it is to re-roll the shop hoping to find some planet cards. It's better to buy an Arcana pack than to re-roll the shop looking for tarot cards. Okay, so acknowledging that, what we said in the past was when you have $25 or more, when you have your interest capped, then buy as many booster packs as you can. Or, at the very least, buy except for maybe the standard packs. Maybe you don't always need the standard packs, but for these other ones, solid ways of increasing your score, very good value proposition. Cheaper than re-rolling. Buy all the booster packs. So my question for you is, if there were a button that was refresh booster packs, re-roll the booster packs, how much would you be willing to pay for that? Would you be willing to pay $2 to re-roll the booster packs? Would you be willing to pay $5 to re-roll the booster packs? So let's say you buy the booster packs, pay $5, buy the booster packs again, pay $6, buy the booster packs again? Or would you pay $10 to refresh the booster packs? How much is that worth? Because, for this value proposition of, oh, if I skip a shop, I'm missing out on however much money that I'm making from the round. I'm also missing out on whatever potential money is the shop offering's worth. A refresh of the shop, how much is a shop worth to me? And I think it's worth more than you think it is. All right, now for the purposes of this tier list, we've got the top tier is graduating with honors. These are the folks that are just overperforming in everything that they do, not just the one Balatronomics class, but everything that they're doing. Next, we've got the solo group project. This is those that not necessarily overperforming all of the time, but at least within the context of the one class, they're doing a great job. They're carrying the team, right? So for the group project, they're the one person doing all the work for everybody else. Not necessarily because everyone asked them to do the work, but because they didn't trust anyone else to do the work. You know how it goes. And maybe this is the person who, okay, let me copy your homework. Everyone wants to copy their homework. Next, we need to talk about your midterm. So these are folks, we got off to a good start. I feel like we had a good thing going, and then, you let me down in a big way. You let yourself down. And we should talk about it. We should see if we can kind of turn this around, but, it's not looking good. It was fine until it wasn't. Then we've got, you don't meet the prereqs. So wait a second, how did you get in this class? You didn't even pass the previous class. You got to go do something else. You got to be not here. You don't meet the requirements to be in this class. Get out of here. And then finally, expelled, of course. I don't want to see you again. Get out of my class. Get out of my school. Get out of my country. All right. Let's do some easy ones first. So, obviously garbage tag is, of course, garbage. But why though? Why does it suck so bad? Alright, so the game rewards you for using your discards. Most builds are going to care about discarding. Most of the time what you want is you want to find higher scoring hands so that you can win in one hand. If you win in one hand, then you save a lot of extra money, right? You get money from unused hands. But it's not just about that. It's not just about finding your hand, finding your scoring hand. It's also about, even if you're playing high card, even if you can get by with playing any card, you still care about finding some cards of value. You still care about finding your purple seals. You still care about finding your gold cards. You still want to use your discards looking for those. And the potential value that you get from your gold cards and your purple seals is more than what you would get from not discarding, right? Like if you just think, okay, well, if I know for sure, if I know garbage tag is coming up in the future, I can just plan around that. I can just choose not to discard. You're missing out on way too much value if you do that. And so, there are jokers that reward you for not discarding, but generally speaking, I want to say, more than 90% of the time, this is going to be a blank. This is going to be useless to you compared to, the other kind of economic offerings. Also, the speed tag here is kind of a joke. Gives you $5 for every skip that you do. And so if every skip is bad, then, this is insult to injury, right? In theory, this pays you for all of the skips that you did, but if it was all bad the whole way, then you shouldn't have been doing any skips and you shouldn't have this get very high. So that one's obviously garbage too. Now here's one that's kind of an important benchmark. This one's going to set the tone for the rest of this. Holographic tag. Where do you put the holographic tag? I put it here. This is the good enough one. And then, it's not going to be an all-star all the time. So the thing about the holographic tag, most of the time you have plus mult from jokers, plus chips from jokers. You have some combination of scoring from jokers. I don't need a random holographic. A lot of times your random card is going to be common, and sometimes you get uncommon also, but most of the time common. And so if you have any jokers at all, I don't need this. However, in ante 1, in round 1, this is an all-star. So if you don't take any skips and you go through 2 shops and you get to see 4 cards, what is the thing that you're looking for? Why do you care about having shops in the first place? Well, the thing that you care about is I need to have some amount of scoring early. I need to have some amount of scoring online in the very beginning. I need to just kind of get off the ground. I need to get started. And then once I get started, then it's a little bit, it lowers the pressure. Then I can afford to go through shops and not buy anything. I can afford to build up my interest. If I get a holographic in round 1, that is enough scoring to carry me through all of ante 2. So for the first 6 rounds, I don't need anything else. I can save all of my money for interest, or I can invest my money in value generating jokers, or I can invest my money in, whatever you feel like. If I get this guaranteed plus mult in the first shop. And so I think for that guarantee, it's worth the money. So the question is, well, how much money is it worth it for that guarantee? I think it's worth at least 2 rerolls worth of money for that guarantee. And so I think this skip here is worth at least, $10 or $12. And then so, in kind of a similar vein here, what about the foil tag? Foil tag has, very similar flavor. The question is it the same or is it worse? Is it just as good or is it, almost not as good, right? No one's going to say it's better, right? No one's going to say foil tag is better than holographic. So here's a way to think about it. Holographic gives you plus 10 molt, foil gives you plus 50 chips. Okay, what's the conversion rate there? So we know from things like Odd Todd and Even Steven. Steven gives us plus 4 molt, Todd gives us plus 30 chips. And so, okay, that's the same as Scary Face and Smiley Face. That's the same as the Hierophant and also the Empress. So, okay, the conversion rate is 4 molt is the same as 30 chips. And so 10 molt should be the same as 75 chips. Well, wait a second. This foil only gives me 50 chips. That's way less than 75. Okay, so this is definitely worth less than this holographic here. Another consideration, we also said, kind of early on, you can get chips from planet cards. The thing that you need most early on, the thing that's going to help you score the most early on is going to be the molt, right? Even if you pick up Jimbo, even Jimbo just gives you plus 4 molt. That's the same as a ×2 to your score, right? Whereas if you have, you play your hand and your hand is normally 80 chips times 4, then picking up 50 chips is weaker than Jimbo. That's weaker than plus 4 molt from Jimbo, right? So that's terrible value proposition. Maybe. Or, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are more jokers that give plus molt than give you chips. This is on purpose. This is by design. This is something that the developer wanted so that, this value proposition of, whether it's better to have more molt or whether it's better to have more chips, it's dynamic. It changes throughout the game. It is easier to find more molt. You can have 3 or 4 molt jokers. Finding that first chips joker could be challenging, could be kind of hard. And so this could be very compelling, could be very useful to have the extra chips. I think it's still worse. I think it's still worse than the plus molt, but I think it's closer than you might think. Let's say, these just land on a random joker. Let's say they land on a random common joker. The common joker is more likely to give you plus molt. So would you rather have molt on top of molt, or would you rather have chips on top of molt? In which case then, the foil is a little bit better in that case. I think long term you're gonna want to have the molt because you can get chips from other sources, but it is pretty close. In my opinion, it's pretty close. The one that's not close is Polychrome. Polychrome goes down here. All right, Polychrome, you're letting me down in a big way. And if you're in Ante 1, you can't take this. The reason why you can't take this is because you can't afford it. You skip, you go into the first shop, and then, okay, unless you win the first round in one hand, if we're talking about the white stakes, the low stakes, then, okay, you buy this and then that's it, right? Or if we're talking about the high stakes, if we're talking about, once you get to the red stake, that's the first one that has no small blind reward, now you can't afford the Polychrome. You skip, but then you can't afford whatever it lands on because it's going to increase the price. Also, whatever it does land on, if it does become Polychrome, that plus 50% scoring, that Polychrome, is not helping you as much as this early holographic would. And so if your starting hand is 75 times 4 molt, then adding plus 10 on top of 4, this is plus 250%, whereas the Polychrome is only plus 50% on top of that. So the holographic is way bigger early, and then later on in the game, you can easily find other sources of X molt, and from any of the uncommon jokers. There's a lot of uncommon jokers that give you like ×3 molt or something like that, and so whatever Polychrome you have, you're going to end up selling it, and you're going to wish that you hadn't skipped. All right, let's talk about the money. Maybe, I don't know. Where do you want to go? How about, so we talked about the economy tag giving you however much, or sorry, the speed tag giving you 5 per skip that you've done, which should be 0, or it counts itself, so it's minimum 5 or whatever. What about this investment tag? Where does this investment tag go? So investment tag, on one hand, it gives you money, and it's not gonna pay out until after the boss. So if you see this later, you don't want this. If you see this later, if you see this ante 2 or later, you don't want this. But we already said that about holographic and foil. We said you only take these in ante 1. You probably only take these if they're the small blind skip. Big blind skip maybe, but usually if it's just the small blind skip, you don't take these past ante 1. That's the benchmark. That's how bad all of these tags are, is you only take it in ante 1. So, does the investment tag, does this fit the same bill here? Does it do the same thing? If you get that $15, what do you do with that $15? Well, you're just going to spend it on maybe re-rolling the shop. Maybe you use it to buy booster packs. I think this is not worth it. I think this goes down here. I think this goes down here with the polychrome. And I think that's just this, like I said, when you skip a round, you skip a shop. You skip a chance to see jokers. And so even if you get the $15, you got nothing to spend the $15 on. All right, what about economy tag? This is a big one, right? This says double your money. And for some folks, double your money is plus $15. Sometimes it's plus $30, or sometimes it's plus $40. And I said this one, for me, I don't always take this. A lot of the time I don't take this. Actually, I don't take any skips, so maybe that's not a good benchmark. But yeah, even at $40, I can make more than $40 worth of value in a round. And if I'm playing on the high stakes, if I skip and it raises the scores by 50%, if I get the shop is not guaranteed to help me, but there's a chance that it could help me. If I take the skip and then everything is 50% harder, that's guaranteed to end my run. That's guaranteed for me to lose. And so this is, at least on par with these, where, I'm going to take it, maybe there is some ante where I would take it, but most of the time I don't take it. I think it's good enough. I think it is better than all the other tags. It's not great, but it's better than all the other ones. All right, here's another kind of value proposition here. Let's talk about the coupon tag. The coupon tag, that's the one that makes everything 0 cost. So it makes all of the cards in the shop, sometimes jokers, you can get 2 jokers for free, even rare jokers you can get for free. Gives you free booster packs early on. That's huge. By the way, if you just go to tier maker and you just search for, Balatro and different kind of tier maker things or whatever that people already made, the one that was pre-built had the coupon tag twice. Instead of having the voucher tag, the coupon tag shows up twice. And so I don't know if you could see this, but this I had to crop myself, get the voucher tag. Someone put the coupon tag instead of the voucher tag. And if you go on the wiki, the Balatro wiki, it actually shows the coupon tag twice. And that's probably what happened, is they were just copying the images from the wiki. So, all right, we don't need this. We just have this. There we go. So, coupon tag. How much is a coupon tag worth? Coupon tag, is it worth at least as much as these here? At least as much as these guaranteed scoring help? I think yes. I think it's worth even more than that. I think it's not going to be worth $40. It's not going to be worth as much as the economy tag, but at the time that you take this, it is worth it. So, where holographic and foil, where these, I would say, maybe you always take these in, well, it depends, right? If we're talking about gold stakes, then you always take them in round 1. If we're talking about white stakes, I don't think you need it. But if this is a thing that you struggle with, if you would like to have that security of this guaranteed scoring joker help in round 1, then you do. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. So, this is at least that good. This is at least, ante 1. I think also ante 2 is somewhat reasonable. So the difference between, this coupon tag and potentially, some other things is, even though we're skipping a round in the future, there exists some future round where I have more value per round, more money per round, and I'm skipping that future round. This allows me to get my economy online faster. So I take the coupon tag, I fill up my joker slots, and then with more jokers and stuff like that, then I can do more stuff early. If I have more scoring help, I can win with fewer hands, and then I can save money by using fewer hands. And so this helps me get off the ground. And so that's why I think, this is top tier coupon tag. Maybe not as good as the economy tag. I think economy tag, just the raw value of it is just too powerful. All right, how do you feel about boss reroll? That's what I'm feeling here. How do you feel about boss reroll? Boss reroll, for some folks, when you first start out, every boss is brutal. Every boss will end you. But, as you start to get more familiar with the game, as you start to get more comfortable with the game, okay, maybe the bosses don't bother you that much, or don't bother you as much as often. It's really just, there are a few bosses that end your run if you're on a particular run. And so maybe you're playing flushes and you've built your whole deck around hearts, and then the boss wants to debuff your hearts. All right, that's kind of annoying, to be honest. Or maybe there are these bosses that debuff all of your face cards, and now your kings and queens are not going to do anything, and you're not going to get any joker value, joker synergy from those things. Then you might want this. I think the value of the boss reroll depends on how tough the bosses are, right? If all of the bosses are weak, then you never need to reroll, you never want this. If all of the bosses are strong, then when you reroll a boss from a strong one, you just get a different other strong one. And then it's, for the final boss reroll, you just reroll into another different final boss, and it's just as bad. Why did I do that? If you have, just a few like hard counters to what you're currently working on, then I think this is fine. And so maybe no, the bosses just don't bother me that much. And I think, I think you can get to a point where you can overcome most bosses. And so you don't need this. This is nothing to you. This is not $15 worth of value. If you just give me the $15, I'll re-roll the shop. I'll replace all of my jokers. I'll replace my entire build so that I can beat the boss. All right, how about the handy tag? Is that what it's called? Let me look it up here. Yeah, handy tag. Handy tag is going to give you money for hands that you've played. And so early on, this is not going to do anything because you haven't played that many hands. Later on, this could theoretically be worth more money. And so if you've got like a super long endless run, for example, oh, you've played 60 hands? All right, well, here's $60. Except, it's hard for us to get to that point. So a lot of the time what we're doing is we're winning every round in, let's say, 1 or 2 hands. And so every ante, maybe that's 5 hands per ante. So if you get this in ante 6, then this is $25. If you get this in ante 8, this is, $35 to $80 or something like that. So it's always going to be less than the economy tag. The question is, is it worth enough? I think it is. You're going to be taking this more often than you take these other ones. I think you shouldn't take it. I think it's not, even at $25 is not worth it. But if it is going to be worth anything, it's worth more than these other ones. It's worth more than the ones that you only take in ante 1. This you could theoretically take, in ante 4 or 5 or something like that. Maybe. No. Early on you don't take this because it's just not worth enough, and then later on when it is worth more, when you've played more hands, you also get more value per round. Whereas the economy tag, you get the economy online, you could get to $40, double your money in round 5. Round 5 you get up to $40. It's better than these though. It's better than these. Alright, how do we feel rare tag versus uncommon tag? These two here. Which of these is better? And why is uncommon tag better than the rare tag? So the rares are, they're rare, they're interesting, they're complicated, they're build arounds, right? And so these build around jokers, sometimes what you got going on is not compatible with what you're trying to build, right? And so, I think a lot of the time with the rare tag, you're going to be disappointed. I think, you could get things like the Sixth Sense. You could get things like the Seance. You could get things, even like Invisible Joker. Invisible Joker doesn't pay off very fast. You could get things like the Obelisk that, maybe I'm personally a fan of, but maybe you're not a fan of that. And I think a lot of the times, you're going to get something that disappoints you with a rare tag. You're going to get there's a decent number of rares that give you X mult, but they require you to play a specific hand, and so maybe that's not compatible with the hand that you're playing. There are other sources of X mult. There's a lot of sources of X mult at uncommon, actually. The uncommon ones, even if you don't get X mult, let's say you get something like Fibonacci, gives you 40 mult from the one Joker slide. Let's say you get something like the Onyx Agate, gives you also 40 mult if you're playing clubs or something like that. Or the Bloodstone gives you X mult if you're playing hearts. I think, more often you're going to find something that's flexible, right? The rares are not very flexible. They're all kind of all over the place. And if you're not doing that specific thing, it does nothing for you. Whereas the uncommons are a little bit more stable. They're a little bit more cross-compatible. You get an uncommon, you can find a way to fit it into your build. You can find a way to pivot around it. Generally, what I would suggest is take these early rather than later, right? Take it early. An early uncommon is similar flavor, similar power to sort of an early holographic, right? A common, maybe an average common will give you plus 15 mult, whereas an average uncommon will give you something like, 30 to 40 mult or something like that. And so it is as powerful as having, like a holographic, especially if it's in Ante 1, if it's the first skip that you do, the round 1 skip that you do. This could be a build around, or this could be something that carries you for not just the next 5 rounds, but the next 7 rounds are free now because of this one uncommon. Or maybe you get a scaling uncommon that's going to grow into the late game. Or there's just like a lot of X mult sources. Maybe one thing to be slightly cautious about is, some of the uncommons, like I said, they are the scaling ones, the growing ones. And if you skip and you get it early, then, that's not going to help you right away. It'll be worth it long term, but it's not going to help you right away. And so maybe don't always do this. Rare tag is down here. Rare tag gonna let me down every time. Maybe it's even worse than that. I think it's good enough. I think it's, so the thing about, sort of these guaranteed rarity jokers or whatever, or, notice all of the ones that I value higher are the ones that are guaranteed. You guaranteed get a thing, and that's because, why do I care about shops? Why do I care about shopping in the first place? Well, what I want to do is I want to spend a bunch of money on rerolls, and I want to find the stuff. And so if you just guarantee that I get the stuff, then I don't need to reroll, right? So for example here, what about a negative joker? Guaranteed negative joker. Not going to take up any joker slots. I think this is worse than a celestial pack. I think a celestial pack is better than a random negative. So the thing about the negative is a random negative, and it could oftentimes it'll be a common negative or something like that. It'll give you something like plus 15 mult if you're playing straights, and I know you're not playing straights, and so you're going to get something that's incompatible, something that's not going to help you. And when you skip, you go into the shop, you still have to pay for it, you still have to buy it. And for some folks, when you go into a shop and you see a negative joker, you're like, oh, well, if it doesn't take up any space, I'll just buy it. It doesn't hurt me to buy it. Well, that money could be spent on something else, right? That could be spent on re-rolling an extra time or an extra 2 times to find some better rare or uncommon joker that's going to help you out even more. Or, re-roll for some, consumable cards or something like that. So even though it doesn't take up any space, the bar for it, helping you is not 0. It still needs to help you in order to be worth the money. And, here we're not just talking about the money of buying the card, buying the negative, but also all the money that you miss out on from skipping. Is a random negative going to increase your score by 50%? Maybe If it does, it's not going to help you right away. You have to skip, you have to do the next round right now first. And then after you win the round, then you get to see the negative. And so, you know, it has kind of the same problem, the same danger as like skipping for 40 bucks here. And so obviously this goes down here. It's worse. It's worse than a guaranteed uncommon. I don't need a negative if the negative doesn't help me. What I need is just replace the current jokers with higher quality jokers. Replace with an uncommon joker. All right, what about, let's see here. We talked about the Celestial Pack. Celestial Pack is definitely better than the negative tag because here it's a mega celestial, right? You get 5 choices and you get to pick 2 of them. And so you could do things like, oh, I'm gonna pick up straight and straight flushes. I'm gonna pick up flushes and straight flushes. I'm gonna pick up, let's say 4 of a kind and full house or something like that. Or because it's 5 cards, either way, if it's 5 cards, I have a better chance of getting something that's definitely going to help me, and it doesn't take up a joker slot. So that is similar to a negative joker. Also, when I take this skip for the Celestial Pack, I don't have to pay for it. I just get it. Whereas like the negative joker, you still have to pay for it. So it's definitely better than the negative tag. Question is like, is it this much better? Is a negative or a random, or sorry, is a mega Celestial Pack worth as much as $15 worth of value? Is it worth as much as, you know, a guaranteed rare? How many rerolls does it take to get a guaranteed rare? I think it still goes down here. And I feel that way about these other booster packs. So, you know, Arcana pack, I think Arcana and like tarot cards are weird, right? So, you know, every consumable card costs $3. That doesn't mean that every consumable card is worth $3. Some are worth more, some are worth less. And so, you know, how much is Empress worth? How much is Temperance worth? Right? Like, how do you put a price on Temperance if it's always going to give you, you know, more money than it costs? And so I think on average, most of the time with the Arcana pack, you're going to get more value than you spend on it. So you buy a $4 Arcana pack, on average, you're going to get more than $4 worth of value out of it. So I think the tarot cards are generally going to be more, well, Arcana packs are generally going to be worth more than Celestial packs, but individual planet cards are going to be worth more than tarot cards. Does that make sense? And so, you know, there's like, when you open an Arcana pack, there's more different things that could help you. And so on average, the Arcana pack is going to be worth more. Whereas with the Celestial pack, there's really only the one planet that you want, you know, whatever your best hand is. And so there's less things that can help you, but the one thing that does help you helps you a lot. And so that's like kind of the weird difference between these two. I think Arcana packs are worth, you know, more on average than Celestial pack. I don't think it's worth as much as $15 though. Celestial pack, it might be the worst of the booster packs. Maybe it's even down here, I don't know. Yeah, so here's the thing about the Celestial pack. This is a mega Arcana, this is a mega Spectral pack. Spectral pack, you only get 2 cards, right? And in the literal first shop of the game, or maybe the first couple shops of the game, I'm going to take a Spectral pack, I'm not going to lie, because I think it's a pretty interesting, spicy way to start off your run. Okay, you get the one that, you get Ouija, and you just convert all your cards, and now you're playing 4 of a kind. Or you get Sigil, and you convert all your suits, and now you're playing straight flushes or something like that. You can get the seals, very good value, even better value when you get them early on. Even Grim gives you aces, enhanced aces. That can be worth it. That can be good enough early on. However, any later on, you know, in Ante 2 and further, the Spectral pack is not going to give you the ones that are actually compatible with what you're doing. So a lot of the time you're just going to look and then you're going to skip. I think Spectral packs are rare. You know, they're rarer than other booster packs. And so if you have the money, I think you should still check. I think you should still look, because there is a chance. There's a chance there's high upside. And the cost is low. you spend $4. That's it. You spend $4 and there's a good chance that you get nothing, but then there's a small chance that you get something very big. And so I definitely think that the Spectral Packs are worth the $4 when you buy them. However, is it worth a skip? And I think not. It's definitely not worth as much as a Mega Arcana. Mega Arcana going to give you 2 cards. And out of 5 choices, you have a better chance of getting something that actually does something. Alright, what about the Buffoon Pack? Oh, by the way, the skip tags, if you didn't already know this, there are some that you cannot get in Ante 1. And part of that is it prevents you from getting the ones that immediately increase your scoring power, that make you too powerful too early. And so, for example, in round 1 or in Ante 1, you can't get the top-up tag. You can't get the 2 random common jokers. I don't know if you noticed that. You just, like, that would be too overpowered. You start the run and then you just automatically get 2 jokers for free? Like, obviously not. Same with the Orbital. Orbital gives you upgraded hand levels, so you can't get Orbital in Ante 1. You can't get a Buffoon Pack in Ante 1. Like, you could get them from the shop, but you can't get them as skip rewards. You can't get Spectral Skip in Ante 1 either. You can't get a negative skip in Ante 1. You can't get a Celestial Pack, because Celestial Packs, again, you know, when you skip, going to give you those planet cards that make you too powerful. But you can get an Arcana Skip as the first skip, and the Arcana Skip can give you Judgment cards. If you get a Judgment and a Fool, you can get 2 jokers from this. So that's like kind of a, it's not going to happen most of the time, but it's something that could happen. Is like kind of interesting. Anyway, all 3 of these here, top-up tag giving you 2 common jokers, the Orbital tag giving you, random random hand upgrades, and then the Buffoon Pack. You can't get these in Ante 1, and so we got to think about them in the context of when do they show up. Let's say it's in Ante 2 skip. If I'm talking about this top-up tag, 2 random commons. Alright, for 2 random commons, if it is literally round 4 or whatever it is, it's the small blind of Ante 2, so the beginning of Ante 2, then you're probably going to have room, right? You're probably going to have the empty joker slots. Are 2 random commons worth, whatever you would skip? I think it's not worth as much as these others here, not worth as much as holographic and foil here, but if I'm playing on the high stakes and I don't have that much money anyway, and I really do need that extra scoring help to get the start of Ante 2, I think I do take it. I don't think it's any better than this though. Alright, the Buffoon Pack is kind of a similar flavor, right? So with the Mega Buffoon here, you get to see 4 and you get to pick 2. And, this is not going to show up in Ante 1, and so if you get it in Ante 2, okay, obviously you pick it at least as much as you do this one, the top-up tag. But maybe there's a situation where, later on you still want this. Later on you still want the Mega Buffoon, rather than just in Ante 2. Maybe in Ante 3 is this something that you want. By Ante 3, you probably have 5 jokers already. If you already have 5 jokers, what are you messing around with Buffoon Pack? In the shop, if I want to see 4 cards, all I have to do is hit the reroll button 1 time, right? If I take the skip, I see 4 cards. If I don't take the skip, all I have to do is reroll 1 time, and then I get to see 4 cards. And so that is at least as good or better than this Buffoon Pack. And so almost never take this skip, almost never take any of these skips, but for, literally the beginning of Ante 2, then it's worth it. It's super worth it. It's super powerful. Just to get the plane off the ground. You could from this get some kind of jokers that then give you economy, give you value. And so it's worth it to skip and then, get your economy online. Now the Orbital, what I say about this is, there are some things that money can't buy. You can skip for 40 bucks with the economy tag, but there's some things that money can't buy. And in the shop, it's really hard to find 3 of the same planet. It's really hard to find 3 of the planet that you're looking for. And so most of the time the orbital, it's going to pick a random hand. It's got, 9 different poker hands. It's going to pick one of them. And most of the time that's not going to be the hand that you're doing, right? Okay, so only 10% of the time is this going to be valid. But when it is, it slaps. This is worth 40 bucks. Getting 3 of the planet that you're going for, that's worth 40 bucks. All right, what about standard pack? So when they're in the shop, standard packs, if we have the money, I'll buy them. I'll take a peek. I'll try to get some enhanced cards. Maybe I'll pick up a purple seal, maybe pick up a red seal, maybe pick up some gold cards. Or sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just really can't afford adding cards to the deck, and I really can't afford spending extra money, and what I need to do is save my money for re-rolling for better jokers, scoring jokers, in which case, okay, sometimes I don't want a standard pack. I always want Celestial, I always want Arcana. I sometimes don't want standard packs, and so never worth it to skip for a standard pack. Get out of here. Why? All right, next in line of things that, what is it, money can't buy. Money cannot buy you extra vouchers. You get 1 voucher per ante, and that's it, unless you get the voucher tag here. So question, how much money is it worth if I gave you the ability to refresh your booster packs? Okay, how much money is it worth if I gave you the ability to refresh your voucher? You spend some money, you re-roll, you get a different voucher. How much is that worth to you? For me, I don't know. It depends. It could be anywhere between, some vouchers I'm willing to pay 30 bucks for, some vouchers I don't want to see at all. But, whatever voucher that I do get, if I take the voucher tag, whatever voucher that's offered to me, that's just one less voucher that I'm gonna see, right, in the future. And so I think this is, as far as like a money proposition, as far as like a value proposition, I think it's worth probably less than 15 bucks, probably less than the investment tag. Is it as bad as a negative? I think it's better than a negative. All right, come at me. Voucher is better than a negative. If the voucher gives you +1 discard or the voucher gives you +1 hand, that's way better than a random negative joker. The voucher gives you seed money. You have the extra interest. You can now get extra $5 per round. That's super worth it. All right, what about this is the juggler tag or whatever it is. So this is +3 hand size, +3 hand size 1 time. I think this is, for me, similar flavor to the boss reroll tag. So the way that I use these is if the boss is hard, +3 hand size makes the boss easier. Also with the +3 hand size, I can use that to, find my purple seals more easily. I can find my gold cards more easily. I can find my lucky cards. I can find my more valuable cards, value generating cards, cards that have synergy with the jokers that I'm using. Like if I have the superposition joker, for example. And so, maybe the extra hand size does actually give me extra value, extra money. Maybe. Most of the time it's just, if the boss is hard, give me +3 hand size, makes the boss easier. And so I think it's, similar flavor to the boss reroll here, where what you want to be doing, you want to be picking up these permanent benefits, these permanent bonuses. The juggle tag is not that. It's just a short-term thing. Maybe you get a few extra gold cards, maybe you get a few extra bucks, but it's not worth skipping a shop. We talked about how important each shop is. I'm going to do double tag last and, leave you guessing, where am I going to put the double tag? All right, let's talk about the D6 tag. So D6 tag, it advertises rerolls start at 0. So first reroll is 0, second reroll is $1, third reroll is $2, and then so on. So, what you can do is you can get 7 rerolls for what would normally cost you like 3 rerolls or something like that. That's what this means. So let's see here. If you would be willing, if you would be so bold to reroll 3 times, This saves you 15 bucks. If the first one is 0 and then 1 and then 2, that saves you 15 bucks if you reroll, if you would have normally been willing to reroll 3 times. And I think that happens a lot. You know, a lot of times you're going to have the money and you're going to, in the late game, you know, let's say ante 5 and forward, or for some folks ante 6 and forward, that's their late game. That's when they have the reroll money. If you have the reroll money, you're going to be rerolling. And so, you know, what's going to be better for you? This guaranteed 1 uncommon, this guaranteed 1 rare joker, or if I give you, you know, $40 worth of rerolls. You know, if I give you $40 worth of rerolls, that's going to give you more jokers. That's going to give you uncommon jokers. It's going to give you more consumables. That's going to give you, you could hit Hermit and Temperance and those types of, rarely you could hit those. You could hit, you know, more planet cards. You could hit the 1 planet card that you're looking for. I think, for me, D6 is great. D6 is way better than you think it is. Also, you shouldn't take it. Also, I mean, you shouldn't take any of these, but if you're going to take one, please consider how much value you can get from the D6 tag. All right, now double tag sucks. You know, in theory, the double tag is as good as whatever the best tag that you would get is. Well, most of these tags, I said, you only take them in ante 1 anyway, and you sometimes take them in ante 2. And that means if I take the double tag, does there exist a skip in the future that I would be willing to take? The answer is no, probably not. You know, if there's just random skips in the future, then I'm not going to take them anyway. And so I have this that doesn't do anything. I never get to use it. Oh, it's really cool when I get to do the double tag with the orbital tag, or if I get to do the double tag with the economy tag. That's not because the double tag is good. That's because the anaglyph deck is good. The anaglyph deck makes the skips less bad. The anaglyph deck allows you to save up your double tags and get 5 skips worth of value from just 1 skip. Like, that's huge. But in general, if you're offered a double skip, should I take it and then hope for maybe a double negative in the future? This is terrible. Get out of here. And all right, this is a repeat here. Coupon tag. All right, so there we go. Do we want to do some shuffling around in here? Let's see here. Let's say, you know, the left side is the better ones and the right side is the worse ones. So maybe, how about this? D6 is better than the coupon. I think the coupon I think D6 you don't take an ante 1 because, well, maybe you do take an ante 1, right? You know, we talked about how important it is to see each shop, however many shops. If you get a D6 tag in ante 1, you can get 3 rerolls for, you know, 0, 1, 2. That's $3. $3 gives you 3 rerolls, right? And that gives you looks at 6 cards. That is the same as a Mega Buffoon. I mean, the Mega Buffoon, you don't have to pay for the jokers, but, you know, just being able to see the extra cards, like, that's huge. And then later on, when you have the money, when you have the reroll power, when you can afford to spend, you know, $15 or $20 or whatever, now you can buy 7, 8 rerolls in one shop. I think that's not as good as just having $40. I think just having $40 is straight better, but it's definitely better than the coupon tag. Coupon tag you take mostly early on when you don't have anything else going on, just to get the plane off the ground. I think the orbital most of the time is going to be nothing, but the one time that it does hit the hand that you're working on is great. Or if you get it early enough, if you get this in ante 2, now you pivot around this. You pick it up and then you just build your everything around this. So it's more than 10%. I think it's closer to 25%. I think a quarter of the time when you see the orbital, you take it. All right, what about in here? So, you know, for these, like, top up tag and buffoon pack, you know, obviously I think the buffoon pack's better, right? Because, you know, top up tag is guaranteed commons, buffoon pack you get to pick, so obviously that's better. These, we have the ante 1 skips versus the ante 2 skips. I think the handy tag is the worst of all of these. It just gives you the money, but it gives you at a time that you don't need it, at a time that you don't want it. I think holographic is definitely better than foil. I think these guaranteed scoring are better than just a random uncommon. Is a random uncommon worse than these? Probably. Yeah, maybe something like this. And here with the uncommon, I'm talking about only an anti-1. Would I be willing to skip for an uncommon? Because, you know, later on you're going to have so much re-rolling money, you're going to have so much shopping money, you could find uncommons. Whatever uncommon you want, you could find it. That's not true, but yeah, you get the point. All right, here we've got, these are just so bad. They're so equally bad. How about investment is worth more than polychrome? Polychrome is sort of a guaranteed scoring. It's not very good scoring, but it is guaranteed. Whereas this 15 bucks could be anything and is not guaranteed. I think having the 15 bucks for me generally is going to be worth more than a random rare. And so, you know, if I have Wraith and Wraith says that it's going to, you know, set my money to 0 and I lose 15 bucks, do I want a $15 rare, random rare? For me, no. For you, maybe. I could see this going this way. But for me, I'd rather have the money, except I don't get the money after the boss. It's close enough. If I don't get the money until after the boss, maybe it looks like this. Maybe the rare is worth more than a 15 bucks. Though 15 bucks is something that I'd be willing to take in Ante 1, whereas the rare skip I wouldn't be willing to take in Ante 1. So maybe it looks like this. Voucher is better than a rare. Voucher is more helpful more often than a rare would be, and it doesn't take up a joker slot. That's very powerful. I think that's also then better than the investment. 15 bucks, that's better than a random polychrome. There we go. All right, down here we've got negative is probably better than these two. So these are the boss beaters. We have the reroll the boss and we have the handy tag here. I think reroll is going to be better more of the time than the extra hand size. I definitely prefer these booster packs over the negative. Down here, okay, double tag is not the worst. Double tag is not the worst. The worst is the garbage is the worst. Or maybe the speed tag's always 5 bucks. Is the garbage tag worth more than 5 bucks? Usually. Maybe something like this. Are both of those, what's better, 5 bucks or a standard pack? Probably 5 bucks better than a standard pack. And spectral packs are fine. They're just fine. All right, this is it. This is my tier list. This is how I feel about skip tags. Never skip, except maybe.